All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been doing a series of video presentations based on the textbook that we have for the Application and Website Development, or AWD 1100 Programming Fundamentals with C# course. So I've been going over the PowerPoint slides for each chapter. This is our book, Murox C# 7th edition, and creating some video presentations. I'm in the middle of Chapter 12. And I was thinking about this, and that is when I'm going back to this, let's see. I don't want to, with this set time 2, I don't want that. I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. And I'm going to create a brand new class. So I've got a class in here called time. Okay. And I wonder if I can just go in and manually change the name of this, if it'll take that. If I rename, I'm going to call this time 1, O-N-E, and hit enter. And yes, I want to change all references to it. So I want to see if that changed everything. And I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to run the program again, just to make sure I didn't break anything. And it looks like I did. That's good. All right. So I'm now going to come back into here, into my regular program, and I'm going to comment out everything that I've done so far. So these time 1s through time 6, they're all commented out. And these output statements, they are all commented out. Okay? Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to create a second class. So I'm going to right mouse click on my project name, choose add. This time I'll do it this way. I'll choose new item and I'll grab class from here. And I'm going to call this time TWO, time2.cs. And immediately again, I'm going to make this public. All right, and I'm going to do this more, I wouldn't say exactly the old-fashioned way, but I'm going to do it in a different way. So I'm going to come in here, and where am I? Again, I'm going through my notes here. Sorry about that. Oh, that's good. I seem to have lost a page of my notes. That's fine. But I'm going to come through here, and in my time 1 class, I'm going to grab this stuff from the beginning. Just that. Okay, and put that into time 2. So I've got my instance variables. They'll be the same, in other words. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out a good way to do this. I think what I'll do is I'll just grab this. I'll also grab the I'm going to grab virtually all of this, but you'll see what I'm doing hopefully in a minute. I'm not going to worry right now. I can grab everything. That's fine. Okay, I'm gonna modify this up the wazoo as we get going here. So let me do a file, save all on this, and come back to here. All right, now I'm going to hit enter and paste that in. So now they look exactly the same, except again this says public time 1 where it should say time 2, and this should say time 2 as well. Now essentially these two things are the same, and I'm going to start making some changes. All right, now I could come through here. When you think about it, I could come through here and I could write a bunch of combinations for partial arc constructors, and I showed you those before. I could have hour and not pass in minute and second. I could have hour and minute, not pass in second, etc. There are all those derivations. I'm not going to do that. I could, but that would get really long really fast. I don't want that. Okay, I want to go down to my set time, and this is what I want to rewrite. Okay, and I'm going to rewrite this, I don't know if you'd say more in an object-oriented way, but this is the way I'm going to do it. So I'm passing in hours, minutes, and seconds. All right, and I'm going to come in here, and again, I may get errors when I do this. It's totally fine. I'm going to say hour equal hours, minute equal minutes, second equals seconds. Now, I want these to be capitalized, and I showed you that before, and it gave me errors. It'll be fixed in a moment. Again, because I'm a little anal here, I like that stuff lined up. Now I'm going to come in here, and after my set time, I'm going to set my properties. So I'm going to say public int hour. And notice when I do that, in just a second, that this should go away. And I'm going to have my get. And I'm going to have it say return hour. All right. And I'm going to have my set in just a second. Now, if I did this, if I did set, and I came through here and did this, if I said this, so if I said hour equal value, notice now that error is gone, but this is now going to allow bad hours in there. It's going to take in any value. So I want to check this, and I want to use something very similar to what I had before in my time one. So let me grab this. So this is going to do exactly what we did before, except instead of hours, this will be value. Now I'm going to put this over a couple, well, I guess I don't even have to. I can probably squish this down a little bit more. There we go. All right. So notice now my hours look okay. I'm showing you another way of doing this. This is setting it up with my properties. All right. And I'm going to do a similar thing for minutes and for seconds. So this will be minute, minute, and minute, but I'll have to check for 59 as opposed to 23 because it's the minutes, and now that's not giving me an error anymore. So let's do it one more time for seconds. All right. Now I have no errors here. All right. Now, when I come down to here, my universal time, etc. Okay. When I'm checking all this stuff for my universal and my standard, here was my universal string. I don't want to use this now. I want to use that H, that M, and that S. I want to use that one, and that one, and that one. All right. In the same way, when I'm checking this, I want to check here. I want this to be the capital H, and this to be the capital H, and this to be the capital H, and this to be the capital M, and this to be the capital S, and this to be the capital H. Okay? All right. So that's everything is done now with that second one. So let's talk about what changed here. All right. This is exactly the same. This is exactly the same. This is exactly the same. But now what I did was instead of doing that in my set time, all right, I changed that around. And I used these capitals here So I could basically come in and write it with my property getters and setters. So I'm showing you yet another way of doing this. Now I'm going to go back to my program and I'm going to copy all of this code. So I'm going to copy everything that's in here and I'm going to copy it to the clipboard and I'm going to paste it in here, starting in line 66. Why? Because I want to go and I want to remove and if you say I don't know what you're doing, please bear with me for just a moment. So these can now just be uncommented. I'm running the same stuff I ran before, but there will be an important change. All right, and that important change is now instead of making these time ones, I'm going to be making these here time twos. So in other words, I'm now calling the other class. So that's going to have to be, I'm going to have to make a lot of changes in here, but that's fine. So that'll be, got time one, I got time two, etc. So let's put, since I'm running everything off now. So this will say this output string. So right line, this will be right line. This will say universal format, no time passed in. This next one will say so the second one, time two, whoops, which is here, will be valid time passed in. I'm going to say valid time all. And again, valid time all. And between each one of these, I'm going to add \n/n. I'm going to add quite a bit of spacing. So that's valid time all. The third one was invalid all. So that third one, time three, will say invalid all. All right, the fourth one was invalid hours. And again, I want to come in here with each one of these standard, let's see. So before each one of these universal formats, I'm going to put a couple blank lines. All right. So time 4 is, that should have said right there, invalid all. Invalid all. So this is invalid hours. So is this. The next one will be invalid minutes. And so is this. And the last one will be invalid seconds. All I'm doing here is I'm printing out everything together, but I'm putting a little bit of spacing in between them. And now in this particular example, I'm using the second class. So I'm using the time2 class. I don't believe I have any errors, but let's check. So I'm going to do a save all, and I'm going to run this. The output will be ugly because there's a lot of it. All right. So no time passed in. It still went to midnight. All passed invalid. It's 10:13. Okay. Invalid all reset everything to midnight. Invalid hours set the hours to 0. Invalid minutes set the minutes to 0. Invalid seconds set the seconds to 0. It all worked. All right. So the standard format for all hours. Okay. I could go back. I was going to pretty them up. I'm just going to leave them the way they are. So what I've shown you here are two different ways using two different classes that we could go in and we could implement the stuff here. In one, I virtually did everything right inside of here. I wouldn't recommend that. The way that it's typically done is like this. It's a little bit more typing and a little bit more work, but all right, at least presumably it makes it a little bit easier to read. It's more oopy, some people would say, meaning that it's using more object-oriented type of concepts. All right. Now, eventually we're going to come in here and we're going to use these dates and we're going to add them to something else. So we're going to have a date class and we're going to make a month, day, and year. I don't want to do that right now. I was going to do that. I just don't want to get off on too big a tangent here. So what I'm going to do is we may end up doing that one in class. I don't know. But what I want to do right now is I actually do want to go in and create this right here. So I'm going to do a print screen. This is what I always do on these. And I'm going to paste that in. Okay, and then this. Bring all of that in. Paste that in. So now we've got that. That'll be our basic calculator. Now, I've got two things that I can do here. I'm going to start showing it to you right now. But I'm going to come in here and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a file, save all here, and I'm going to exit from here. All right. So I now have under time, I've got this time projects, time, and it's got time 2 and time 1 in it. Maybe that wasn't the best way to write this, but it's how I did write it. I'm going to change this to CH12 programs, and I'm just going to drag that in. They won't be there now, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to move that here. All right, and now I'm going to come in and restart a new section or new session of Visual Studio. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new project, and it will be a Windows format, and I'm going to call this calculator, and I'm going to change my solution name to Chapter 12 programs, and I'm going to change where I'm keeping that to Chapter 12 programs. No problem. All right, so now I've got all that done. Let me pause for just a second. All right, boss just walked in for a minute. So we've got calculator as the project name. It's going to be my Chapter 12 programs, and the solution name will be Chapter 12 programs. Click Create. there that is. I'm going to see in my solution if I can add existing projects. I don't know if it'll take this or not, but I'm going to try it anyway. And it looks like it brought that in. Good. All right. So what I'm going to do then is I want to come in and build this. Now there's a lot of ways that this can be done. Just so you know, a lot of ways. I'm going to take this, make it nice and small. Make this bigger. There. So this is what I want to build. And I'm looking at it like this. Label, button, button, all buttons, all buttons, all buttons, all buttons, and a button. Now, rather than wasting time, 20 minutes or whatever it would take me, having you watch me build this, I'm going to go back and build this interface right in here myself. All right, I'm going to leave it gray, and so it won't be very striking or very appealing. All right, but when I come back in just a couple of moments, okay, when I come back in a couple of moments, I don't know where it is now, but whatever, I'm going to have this done and it'll be in here. Then we can just concentrate on the code. I'm going to use their coloring and everything else they have in here. Again, that'll be a label, and everything else, to my knowledge, will be buttons. I'm going to make that text red, that text red, that text red, that text red, everything else kind of a lighter blue as it shows. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to stop right now and then come back. I mean, I'm only at 20 minutes, but since this is a different project, I don't want to put it in the same video. So I'll be back in a couple minutes.